ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, listeners and viewers. You are listening and watching to Radio Pakistan's News and Current Affairs channel's special podcast. We are doing this program in connection with the approaching August 5, 2019, the day that is marked as a black day in the history of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, the day when Article 370 and 35A were abrogated, and since then the Kashmiris in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir have been living in an open prison, a living hell. To mark this day, we are doing this special program for you, and we have a special guest on this occasion too. Her name is Barrister Malik, who is the lawfare expert, an expert of human rights, a geopolitical analyst, and above all, a strong proponent, a strong vocal voice for the rights of the people of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It's a pleasure to have her in the special podcast. Welcome to the program, Barrister Malik.
Thank you for having me.
Barrister Malik, let's start from the beginning. We are about to mark the 5th anniversary of the revocation of Article 370 and 35A. If we go back 5 years back, what legal justification or legal ground did India have to come up with such a flagrant violation of law?
Well, as you said, if we start from the beginning, India has never had any legal justification for violating the rights of Kashmiris. They didn't have any legal justification in 1947. And similarly, they do not have any legal justification to. They did not have any legal justification to abrogate Article 370 and 35A specifically when it concerns the territory of Jammu and Kashmir. As we all know, it is an internationally recognized disputed territory, and it remains to be so despite India's actions, as we have seen through several reports that have come through, whether that be the UNHRC or whether that be through the United Nations Security Council. The Kashmir territory remains to be a territorial dispute. It remains to be an internationally recognized territorial dispute, and the only legal way of resolving this dispute is through a free and fair plebiscite. The citizens of Kashmir have awaited for that plebiscite. They want that plebiscite, and as far as India's actions are concerned, I think more importantly than Article 370, Article 35A was abrogated in order to change the demography of the occupied Kashmiri territory. And I think the world recognizes this violation of international laws, because any unilateral or bilateral action concerning such dispute cannot be recognized until and unless it sides with the if it is read in cognizance with the international laws. Right. So there is no justification. It is just their, I think, bloodthirsty, design to occupy the territory. Because
Barrister Malik, when this action was taken on August 5, 2019, as you said that it was, or it is, an internationally recognized disputed territory on the World Atlas. When this happened, we were expecting the world bodies, the human rights organizations to come into action and do something tangible about that. That never happened. As a matter of fact, since then, as you mentioned, demographic change has been continuing. There are being people settled from outside Kashmir into Kashmir. They are being given domiciles. They are being allowed to buy property there. The entire scenario, the dynamics of the region are being changed, and yet we are seeing the world bodies doing nothing at all.
Well, that's unfortunate when it comes to any such humanitarian atrocity. We have seen their silence when it comes to Palestine. We have seen their silence when it comes to Kashmir. And this silence is honestly deafening for the people of Kashmir, not only for the people of Kashmir, but for the people of Pakistan as well. Because I think The only difference between the issue of Palestine and the issue of Kashmir is that we have got a strong support, an unwavering support from a nation such as Pakistan, who owns this territory, who stands by this territory, and not for the sake of it being a territory, but for the people themselves. The United Nations and the United Nations Security Council, we have seen that more than 15 resolutions have been passed concerning the Kashmir issue. We have seen reports from Genocide Watch, we have seen reports from the Human Rights Watch, we have seen reports by Amnesty International,
OIC,
and the OIC. However, as far as action is concerned, I think India needs to be taken to task on this matter. But what is lacking is an aggressive stance on Kashmir. What is lacking are sanctions against those who have violated and who continue to violate all international norms concerning the people of Kashmir.
Now, you are an expert of international law and lawfare in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. United Nations, which has resolutions still yet to be implemented on Kashmir, when this action of revocation of Article 370 and 35A was taken by India, what legal options did the UN or other international bodies had to stop India from doing so or having it roll back what it had done?
Well, like I said, the premier action that can be taken still, and that should have been taken back then, 5 years ago as well, were specific sanctions. Whether that be on the Indian government or whether that be on the Indian military. These actions are important. And secondly, we needed resolutions concerning this action by India on 5th of August 2019. We still need, and we did need back then, a vehement sort of denial of these actions and vehement opponents as far as these actions were concerned. But we see a clear lack of those actions concerning Kashmir. However, I believe that India is very smart in its actions when it comes to the Kashmir territory. We saw that they tried to, present a very flowery image with Kashmir as far as the summits are concerned. The tourist summit is concerned, the G20 summit that they had in Kashmir. But we see a recognition of this dispute and the actions that India is taking, because we saw that no one from these nations sent any top-tier diplomats, but low-tier diplomats were sent to the Kashmiri territory, and they were also surprised to see that a nation that stands as world's largest democracy is holding these events in the midst of severe curfews.
When you say, Barrister Malik, that there was a lack of action on the part of the international community, that gives birth to the question that why was that so? I mean, what was stopping the international community from acting legally in the form of sanctions that you said against India or their military? Why were they so reluctant?
I've said this many times, but I think the lack of action stems from short-term, I think, economic interest and economic interdependence. As far as India is concerned, we know that India is a huge market for the rest of the world, whether that be for the USA or whether that be for the European, diaspora. They understand that India is a huge market, and they're reluctant to have any action against such a huge economic presence within the world. However, like I said, these are short-term and short-sighted actions. As far as the long-term effects are concerned, we see that the Modi government is not only extremist, it is expansionist, and it is ethnocentric. We see that Hindutva I call it Hindutva Zionism, because they believe that, Akhand Bharat
Yes,
doesn't end with the Kashmir territory, it doesn't end with Pakistan, it goes all the way, I think, as far as Germany is concerned. So I think the longer they try to avoid this issue, the longer they try to avoid the Kashmir issue, the more power they provide to such designs, such extremist expansionist designs.
But Barrister Malik, when the international bodies, legal organizations, when they turn a blind eye and deaf ear to what is happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and apparently their economic interest reigning supreme over human rights, does that not lead to erosion of the credibility of these organizations internationally?
Of course it does. Not just amongst the international community, but as far as the people of Kashmir are concerned. We have abided by the rules and regulations of the United Nations Security Council and the UNCIP for the past 76 years. Pakistan has abided by those rules and regulations. However, when it comes to their own obedience to their own rules and regulations, we see a huge failing in that matter. And as far as their credibility is concerned, I think if their inaction sort of shows or exposes this dire need for swift action. However, as far as the United Nations is concerned, I hate to admit it, but certain world powers hold supreme authority in these matters. And United Nations, which was created after World War II, as we know, it was designed to avoid such atrocities. However, failing to do so in the matter of Kashmir or the matter of Palestine has exposed them badly. And I don't see how they can have any authority in the long run if they continue to do so, as far as India is concerned. And economy can never, economic interest can never overtake humanitarian interest. And as far as the people of Kashmir are concerned, we see that most of our Kashmiri leadership, the true leadership of Kashmir, whether that be Masarat Alam Bhatt, or whether that be Yasin Malik, or whether that be Shabir Shah, they are all under Indian custody without any rhyme or reason. So these sort of actions need to be taken to task, and I think the OIC, as far as the OIC is concerned, and as far as the state of Pakistan is concerned, they have a huge responsibility. Although they have never stopped supporting the Kashmir cause, but because of the lack of action of the United Nations, their responsibility sort of becomes, it doubles, and they need to, I think, double down on that as well.
India, which claims to be the largest democracy and a champion of human rights, now not sure whether it's the largest democracy or the largest hypocrisy, but do you agree with the notion that the lack of punitive measures on the part of UN and other bodies emboldened India to initiate similar actions against other minorities, whether it's the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar or the persecution of the Christians in Manipur? India is now after all minorities in India. Do you think that not taking timely action against India has led to this point where India is just going berserk and constantly repressing and suppressing all the minorities there?
Well, like I said, I pointed to the fact of Hindutva Zionism, because they believe now, if not before, but they believe now that India is meant only for Hindus, and any minority that resides within India either needs to comply with. We have seen actions such as the Citizenship Amendment Act. We have seen the implementation of Uniform Civil Code, and we have seen all these legislations which are specifically designed to suppress the minorities. And if you say they are emboldened, yes, they are not only emboldened, but they are unabashedly emboldened to suppress its minorities. And we have seen reports which have come out from the Human Rights Watch. We have seen reports which have come out of the US as well, as far as India's action against its minorities are concerned. And it's not just Manipur, and it's not just Khalistan, and it's not just Kashmiris. I think it's every single being who has, a spirit of dissent against the BJP government. So I always, when I say India, I mean BJP is India. And the Kashmiris have seen that we haven't had any difference in action as far as our territory is concerned, whether that be through Congress or whether that be through BJP. What Congress does, in the dark, the BJP does in the daylight. But they're not emboldened. They are now a threat to regional security because of that design.
Right. Now, if we look at the situation in Kashmir, now it is divided into two union territories, Ladakh and Jammu.
Yes.
What is the situation post this abrogation of Article 370 and 35A in Kashmir? Because I'm sure you also belong to that region.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, your family has been a survivor of the massacre, and they migrated to Pakistan decades ago. What is the situation on ground in Jammu and Kashmir right now?
Well, despite Indian claims of huge investments that they have, that they did before the elections, before the recent elections, the on-ground situation for the people of Kashmir has not changed. Our territory has been occupied, but now it has been colonized. This is a new form of settler colonialism, where in the name of progress and in the name of tourism, they are further suppressing the people of Kashmir. Militancy, which has stemmed from India's oppression within the Kashmiri territory through its occupational forces, again speaks volumes about what India is doing in the Kashmiri territory. And as far as Jammu is concerned, I think it is one of the largest genocides which was committed in 1947, and since then we saw that the demography within Jammu was changed from 60% Muslims to 30% within a few days, I would say. But as far as Kashmir is concerned, it still suffers, and is still suffering greatly from this suppression, whether that be through UAPA, whether that be through Public Safety Act, whether that be through other legislations within India. They are targeting Kashmiris. We see that independent news sources, whether that be news channels or whether that be print media, they have been suppressed completely. There is no news, unbiased news coming out of the Kashmiri territory. But because we have information coming to us from independent citizens, from individuals within the Kashmiri territory, the picture which is being portrayed by India is completely false. There is no progress, and not at least for the people of Kashmir. As far as the farmers is concerned, as far as the businessmen are concerned, as far as the individuals are concerned, they're only dealt with suppression, they're dealt with subjugation, and they are dealt with intimidation.
Right.
And the people of Kashmir have been dehumanized for the past 75 years in India, and now they are not only dehumanized, but now they are being demonized. I think not only by the Indian government, but also by their henchmen, as far as the mainstream media is concerned, whether that be the mainstream media or even Bollywood now, I would say, they have sort of succumbed to the pressure, and they are towing the same narrative as the BJP government.
Said towing the line, which reminds me of the role of Indian judicial system in this regard. There was, of course, petition filed after the action, and then the Indian Supreme Court delivered a ruling on that, which implied as if the Supreme Court of India had trampled under feet all provisions of legality and human rights and values and neutrality. What sort of decision did the Indian Supreme Court deliver when it came to revocation of the Article 370-35A?
Well, I think the verdict, whenever verdicts concerning Kashmir come from the Indian judicial system, I think they have more to do with, appeasing the Indian people rather than abiding by their own or international laws. Uh, whether that be the verdict on Afzal Guru, I remember that they said this was to satisfy the Indian sentiment.
Sure.
And I would say the same about Article 370 and 35A as far as their judgment is concerned. It is only to appease the Indian sentiment as far as the Kashmiri territory is concerned. The Kashmir territory cannot have any action by the Indian Supreme Court as it stands, because it is an internationally recognized dispute and it continues to be so. We do not see any change in the rhetoric as far as Kashmir is concerned from the international law aspect. We see that it still stands that it is an internationally recognized dispute, despite the ruling. And I would also like to add that the individuals who were pursuing this case as far as the abrogation is concerned, I don't think they fare any better than the Indian government itself, because as far as Mehbooba Mufti is concerned, as far as Farooq Abdullah is concerned, the Abdullahs and the Muftis, their only target is power politics.
Sure.
As long as they are in power, Mehbooba has been quoted to call Modi her older brother.
Okay.
And then when she is not given what she wants, then she is seen crying about what is happening in Kashmir. We have seen the Abdullahs also doing the same.
What a shame.
And that's the reason why I say that the real representatives of the Kashmiri people, the ones who are representative of the resistance politics in Kashmir, they are locked up. We saw that APHC leaders and their houses and their offices were closed down, and they were taken over or they were destroyed, because they know that the real representatives are imprisoned.
Sure.
The ones who roam openly are, I think, only facilitators of this occupation.
Indeed.
So I have quite a few reservations about BJP Supreme Court. I don't call it the Indian Supreme Court, it is the BJP Supreme Court.
Nice way of putting it.
Yes.
Balbester, thank you very much for being with us. Listeners, at the end, I would just like to share with you some startling and shocking figures that since 1989, total killing of Kashmiris in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir stand above 96,000. Custodial killings more than 7,000. Civilian arrested more than 1,70,000. Women widowed more than 22,000. Children orphaned more than 1 lakh. And women gang raped more than 11,000. Barrister Malik, just towards the end, one line, where do you see the Kashmir region, the occupied region, in the future? Do you believe that the fact that India has been dragging its feet over the issue, does that weaken or in any way undermine the cause of the Kashmiris, or do you believe that no, there is still hope at the end of the tunnel?
Well, if you want one line, we'll resist till we exist. So the best way is to destroy us, otherwise we'll keep resisting. Yes.
Thank you very much, Barrister Sundas Malik, for taking out time and speaking to Radio Pakistan for its special podcast. It was on the 5th August 2019, the day of Yawm-e-Istihsal. Thank you very much for being with us.
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।